It's tolerance that's allowed Christianity and the church to end up mocked.
Muhammad came with a sword. Jesus came with a towel.
I reverted to Christianity instantly because I believed in God and I was born in a Christian nation. Then I decided to do some research on the different religions and I found affinity with Islam.
Right. That I think it's very difficult to be intellectually honest and to go down the path of Islam.
Andrew Tate, one of the most influential figures today, claims Islam is the ultimate truth. He argues that Christianity's tolerance has led to its downfall, while Islam stands tall. Cliff Kenneckley breaks it down, exploring whether Jesus or Muhammad truly offers the path after God. Who do you think has the strongest debate conviction? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's dive right into the debate.
When you were a Christian, what attacks or goods did you see that you're like, man, I never had that? Because I remember when we spoke when we were in Romania, you said, like, when I was at church, Muslims sent me letters, Christians didn't send me letters. I remember that conversation that happened. Mm-hmm. Now that you're a Muslim, what is the biggest difference of treatment, and does it kind of make you sit there and say, man, I understand why the Bible teaches tolerance for certain things?
Yeah, but I understand the question.
What is the difference?
I understand the question, but tolerance is it's a double-edged sword.
I agree.
Right? Because it's tolerance that's allowed Christianity and the church to end up mocked universally across the planet and to not defend their lands. And the Christian thing to do is to sit there and allow your life and your race and your country to be destroyed because it's the Christian thing to do. So tolerance is a double-edged sword. I was an atheist for a long time, and then I became a Christian. I reverted to Christianity instantly because I believed in God and I was born in a Christian nation. Then I decided to do some research on the different religions and I found affinity with Islam. Right. But my affinity with Islam is between me and God. Me trying to please every Muslim on the planet is never going to happen because I'm never going to be able to make them happy. And there's always some of them who are unhappy with me. And there is a contingent of Muslims who like what I say, and there's some that don't like what I say. And that's fine. I'm not here to try and appease them. I'm here to be honest to myself and be honest to my religion and honest to my faith and also be a rational actor and a rational human. And a lot of my views Muslims don't agree with because they throw their rationality away in light of group identity politics. And lots of people do this. It's not just a religious thing. We just talked about how black people did it with George Floyd and BLM. It's identity politics. They don't think rationally and they don't think sensibly. I try and prevent that happening. So a lot of the problems in the UK, yes, you can attribute some of them to Islam, but truthfully, you could attribute most of them to just simply third world individuals arriving of all different, whether they're pagan, it doesn't matter, voodoo,
last question,
it doesn't matter, and third world individuals arriving and them having no plan to integrate these people into society. That's the problem with Europe as a whole.
Tate, would you, if one day in the future you're living, you're evolving, you're a guy that's evolving, you got core convictions, but you're evolving. One day gets to a point where you're like, this is not change. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, nastier on you. Do you ever fear, if you ever say, you know what, I'm going to be a Christian again, do you ever fear what would happen to you if you ever left the religion of Islam?
No, I don't. But I'm sure that would be a problem for them. I mean, I'm sure, I can imagine people getting angry if I did that.
You don't fear it if it...
No. If that's how I feel, then that's what I would say.
I'm watching Andrew Tate. Goes from being a Christian to being a Muslim, okay? Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, he's got a lot of influence with young men. So, hey man, I love what this guy has to say. I agree with him. Why would a guy as great of a communicator as him and as many followers as he has, why would he become Muslim? I'm curious. I'm willing to bet he influenced a lot of other young men to also become Muslims. Cool. Let's put that there. Christianity, okay? Catholic, we can put these together, right? Judaism, you're seeing what's going on here. How do you differ? If you were to, in a very basic way, as a professor, as a pastor, what is the difference between being a Christian, between being a Jew, between being a Muslim?
All right. So Jews believe that Jesus was not the Messiah and was not a good prophet. And he obviously wasn't God. Muslims believe that Jesus was a very good prophet, and a typical devout Muslim has far more respect for Jesus than a typical American, because a devout Muslim believes that Jesus was born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, and because he was such a good prophet, God would never allow him to die on a cross, so he took him to heaven. So the cross and the resurrection are wiped out, but a devout Muslim believes that Jesus is going to return a second time. So they believe in Jesus as a good prophet. Repeatedly in the Quran, Muhammad says Jesus is not God. But in the New Testament, the eyewitnesses who saw and heard Christ insisted Jesus claimed to be God by both his words and his actions. Mark chapter 2, he forgives the sins of a man who's lowered on a mat from the ceiling, never even seen the guy before. And all the religious people say, that's blasphemy. Only God can forgive sin. Yeah, by claiming to forgive the sin of that guy, Jesus is claiming to be God. And in John 8:58, Jesus says, before Abraham was born, I am. And the Jews did not call God G-O-D. They called him I am, Yahweh. And Jesus very intentionally took the name of the eternal pre-existent God, applied it to himself, and they picked up stones to stone him for blasphemy. So, you see, the basic issue is, who is Jesus? And Judaism, Islam, and Christianity disagree. Now, here's my problem with Islam. I have a lot of respect for the fact that one of the 5 pillars of Islam is give alms to the poor. I respect that. Obviously, Jesus taught that. I appreciate that Muhammad had a very high view of Jesus as a good prophet. But here's some of the problems with it. The miracle of Islam is not a person, it's a book, the Quran. In order to know that revelation, the clear revelation of God, the Quran, best, you have to learn Arabic. In other words, God is revealing himself in Arabic most clearly. The miracle of Christianity is not a book, it's not the Bible, it's Jesus Christ, the person who is God in human form. So, am I going to be attracted to a religion that says, Arabic, that's what you got to go? Or no, Jesus loves the world and gives him his life for everybody. Second difference is, Muhammad came with a sword. And let's be honest, it was not pretty for North Africa and for Europe, what the Muslims did. And one of the largest churches in the 2nd and 3rd century was in Egypt, and that church got slaughtered. So, Muhammad came with a sword. Jesus came with a towel, and he served people. And I am convinced that the reason that more people are followers of Christ than any other religion is because of his love, his serving, as well as his truth that he outlined very, very clearly. So those are 2 of the reasons that I think it's very difficult to be intellectually honest and to go down the path of Islam, because there are some real contradictions. The third one is this. Muhammad was born in 570 AD, lived till about 632 AD. So obviously he never met Jesus. He insisted that Jesus never claimed to be God. Sorry, the eyewitnesses who saw Jesus, who heard Jesus, clearly wrote he claimed to be God. Now, who am I going to trust? Am I going to trust a guy who was born 570 years after the fact, who obviously never met Jesus? Or am I going to trust the eyewitnesses? Well, that's a no-brainer. Every single time I want to find out about any historical figure, I want to press the information back as far as I can, hopefully to the eyewitnesses. So Jesus clearly claimed to be God, which is a fundamental philosophical and religious mistake that Muhammad and the Quran are making when they deny the deity of Christ.
Welcome